The Holiday from 2006. The quick log line on the movie is two women troubled with guy problems swap homes in each other's countries where they each meet a local guy and fall in love. Directed by Nancy Myers, starring Kate Winslet, Cameron Diaz, Jude Law, Jack Black, Eli Wallach, a whole bunch of people. So let me sort of say up front that this movie is flawed in many ways. Um, I'm a big fan of the Nancy Myers universe. I don't think this is sort of in her top three because I think the movie has a lot going on, but we'll get to that a little bit later. But why this movie is on my list personally is because I really wanted a movie that represented this feeling of unrequited love. Because in my life, I think I had a lot of that where I would sort of, throw my heart out on somebody without even sort of fully understanding what that meant to me, but definitely without understanding what that meant to the other person. And so in many ways, the Kate Winslet character's journey in this movie is actually quite personal to me, where, you're out there doing all these grandiose acts of love and what have you for the other person who doesn't even see you and doesn't even care about you. So, in the time that I watched this movie, which was like 2009, 2010 or so, I just remember connecting with that aspect a lot. And sort of really, and this is Kate Winslet, right? She's great at everything she does. So even though this movie is kind of cheesy and corny and such, she makes that pain very real. But then ultimately what this movie becomes for me is how you then move on from that sort of unrequited love zone that you're in. And, you sort of you meet new people and they kind of become this, balm of joy and fun. And then through that, you start to find who you are and what you actually care about. And the things that you were crying over earlier, or the people that you were crying over earlier, they actually didn't even mean much to you, because you were sort of stuck in whatever version of love or whatever you wanted in your own head. It wasn't real. And it takes you finding you and what do you care about in life and who you are to truly then find somebody that you want to be with, Now, the movie meanders in many other ways as well. But I think to me, the Kate Winslet journey, moving to LA on a whim and sort of trying something new, meeting Jack Black, and then especially meeting Eli Wallach, which to me is the actual love story of the movie. I wish they were together. That sort of, and then she finds herself and she's sort of like Eli Wallach says, you got to be the leading lady of your own movie. And she becomes one, and that to me is an amazing arc. But then in addition to that, this movie I wanted one like sort of Hollywood rom-com movie. This is that. It has all the tropes of, you're in Surrey, you're having meet cutes, and it's a holiday movie as well. So you have all the tropes of, sort of sugar, candy corn, movie romance as well. This is the only one of those movies on my list. But I think I can watch this movie even today and feel happy and good because it has this very real resonance, with me. Obviously, it's Nancy Myers, so beautiful homes, gorgeous kitchens. And, I have to pause and say a little bit, like, she makes it look so easy, right? Like, this is a director who's made movies that made hundreds of millions of dollars, it's complicated, blah, 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 etc. But, from the classic auteur male-driven point of view, these movies critically were always sort of panned or left aside. But I have to say that it's not easy to make a movie like this and actually resonate and feel so easy and breezy, if you will. So, props to her for doing that. So, yeah, this is sort of my number 3 because, like I said, it resonates in a very particular way with me. And if I can add one more thing, I didn't swap homes with anybody, but me signing up for a cooking class in LA, which I've talked about in a previous episode, plug in for an episode on movies
Food,
that shaped us becoming foodies.
Yep.
Was a little bit inspired by this because I was
Oh.
stuck in a rut and I was like, I got to do something that makes me feel me. And I did it and met great friends, and kind of life took on a new meaning from there on out. So yeah, that's The Holiday. Have you watched this movie?
Yeah, so I had not seen this film before doing this podcast. I had heard about it. Actually, it had been on my list for a while of something to check out, just because I'd heard such great things about it. And I am not someone who typically likes Nancy Meyers. I find certain aspects of her films a little problematic sometimes. So that was not necessarily a reason why I was avoiding it. Just wasn't something that was coming up. So I'm definitely glad I finally did see it. And I do feel that the strongest part of this film was definitely the Kate Winslet's arc and her story, about not only like unrequited love, but I think you really hit on it too. It's about like finding herself. And she starts off the film, like frankly, like very pathetic. Like she's a sad sack. She's in love with this guy who has basically been an ex-boyfriend sort of, but he's not really in love with her, kind of using her in a way. And she's essentially also like very down on herself. Like she is kind of using him to feel better about her own writing. Like they're both writers. They work, I think it was a magazine or a newspaper or something. He's always asking her to review his columns. I think that makes her feel important. So she's like getting self-worth through this other person that doesn't love her back. And it wasn't really until she found this, Eli's character, who's an old man, old screenwriter in Hollywood, like this really old guy who lives in the neighborhood that she house swaps into, that in a way, it's almost like he is stuck in a rut too. Like he's a guy who's a very famous in the world of film screenwriter, but he doesn't care anymore. He's kind of like he doesn't want the attention. He's also kind of a sad sack. And in a way, it's like her finding him and then empowering him to then get the credit that he deserves, feel happier in his own life, is able to then her kind of pull herself up and be like, no, I need to do something for me, discover who I am. And then she also kind of pays it forward a little bit to Jack Black too, who's in a similar situation, right? Of his girlfriend that he's dating at the time. He even has this line about like, oh, I think I sometimes question like, why is she with me? Who's like some schlubby kind of guy. She's an actress who's really attractive. So he's also trying to validate himself through the other person, much like Kate Winslet's doing. So when she's able to like overcome her own issues with her unrequited love and then finding herself through Eli, she's able to kind of pass that back on to Jack Black, who dumps his girlfriend initially because she's cheating on him. When she comes groveling back to him, like, oh, let's get back together. I think, the Jack Black at the beginning of the movie probably would have said yes, because he needed that validation. But Kate Winslet really helped him, I think, to realize like, no, this is not a relationship that's actually making me better as a person, which I think is a lot of what love is. It's about finding somebody who makes you into a better version of yourself or helps you do that instead of holding you back. Which I definitely feel Kate Winslet was getting held back by, the guy that she had the crush on that was unrequited, and Jack Black too, just through the girls that he was with. So I kind of gravitated to that storyline much more than that there was a lot of issues with the Cameron Diaz and Jude Law scenes. I just, felt there was no chemistry or no interest there. And a lot of more telling and not showing when it came to what they were trying to show with what love was there. But yeah, Kate Winslet does a fantastic job. And I mean, she's such a great actress all around. And that also, I think why, like, you just make her more believable to me.
Totally.
And everyone's experienced unrequited love at some point too, so you definitely can identify a lot more with that character and what she's going through.
Totally. And also, a bit of an ode to love through the movies. Like it's not, unintentional that you have meet cutes happening. Cameron Diaz cuts movie trailers. Eli Wallach is a screenwriter.
Right.
So I love sort of that nod, especially for me, who was like pretty new in LA at that time. It sort of felt very relevant in that sense as well.
A lot of references to that. No, I'm glad I finally saw it. Again, it had been on my list for a while, and even like in the last couple of months, because it was around the holiday time, It was showing up on recommendations or people saying, "Oh, one of my favorite holiday movies." So while I didn't get to watch it around Christmas time, I'm glad I did around this other holiday time of Valentine's Day.
Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.